For the last one, number 10, I just don't have the money. Now, I have put this one in the number 10 spot for no other reason except for we're going to spend just a little bit more time here than we have on the others. It comes in number 10, but yet it's going to be the number one reason that's going to stump you up, if you will, for getting your gifting process going really, really well. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And, you know, truthfully and honestly, you are going to get a hold of people that not only can't get the money, but can't really get access to it without affecting putting food on the table, of course, which you never want to affect that. But another reason for the I don't have the money is it is probably the number one excuse for them not wanting to do the research or not wanting to move forward with you at all. And it's don't take that personally. It's not you. It's always them. Okay? Just as long as you're doing everything right, it's always them. So let's go ahead and let's tackle this one and let's really dissect it. Now, speaking of, I did not do a mock-up call for this one particular one of I just don't have the money. And the reason I didn't is because, as you can see, we're going to be tackling several different aspects and replies and ways to really chew this up and try to get it out of them. Not that it's any more difficult than the others, but the reason there's 4 different avenues is because of, well, not only personality types, but theirs and your personality type of which way you decide to go with this. There is also the last one down here I'm going to show you comes with your experience in gifting, like what you've gotten done as far as how effective it is. So let's go ahead and dig into it. Okay, I just don't have the money. Of course, this is always coming out of a website visit. So let's go ahead and just kind of mock this up just a little bit here. I'm calling Mr. Prospect back. And I say, hey, Mr. Prospect, this is Sean. I talked to you not too long ago, and I did notice that you were actually able to go to the website just about 45 minutes to an hour ago. Was there anything I could help you with that, or answer any questions or anything like that, Mr. Prospect? And Mr. Prospect might say, well, blank, blank, and I handle that objection, and I say, look, is there anything else? I don't want you to leave this empty-handed. My main job is to load you full of information so you can make your own intelligent decision. That's one of my favorites. And then Mr. Prospect might pop off and say, well, yeah, I really just don't have the money right now. Now, whatever form that comes in, Mr. Prospect says, I just don't have the money. So let's start with number 1 here. Story or testimonial. I put this one at number 1 because it was by far the most effective way of tackling I don't have enough money when I first started getting my beginnings. Because you know what, then I didn't have very many, or at the very beginning, not any gifts to show for how exactly this is going to work and that it does work. So the only way I could really tackle it is the story or testimonial. So I threw my story in there and I said, always agree. This is one you can definitely agree with. Oh, Mr. Prospect, I know exactly what you mean. These have really been some tough times here lately, so that's something I can definitely understand. But before I let you go, and I always stayed in there, but before I let you go, not that I'm about to hang up with them or have any intentions of it, I just want to let them know I'm not selling them anything here. I really am loading them full of information. So I'm still trying to gain trust here. So Mr. Prospect, before I let you go, I'll let you know that I was kind of in the same boat you were. I actually took a portion of our savings and put into this. And you can't say invest or anything like that, so be very careful with your wording there. I mean, if you make a small goof, no one's going to come after you for that. Just try to be careful in the front end. Mr. Prospect, I know exactly what you mean. I actually took just a little bit of my savings and I was scared to death on this. So I know exactly where you're coming from. I 100% agree, and you know, I'm not trying to sell you here. Notice how I'm not digging into it too awful fast. Say, I took just a little bit of savings. I thought my wife was going to shoot me because this is the craziest thing she ever saw. But, now watch me change the subject. But the reason I went on ahead and jumped into this is because the marketing system is all set up. You see, you were one of 6,000 names this week, Mr. Prospect, and I've spent maybe 4 hours on finding who's actually interested in that 6,000 prospects. I know that sounds kind of hard to believe, but this thing makes all the phone calls for me. I just simply return phone calls back like I did you. I knew you were looking because you pressed 1 earlier in that message, right? Mr. Prospect says, well, yeah, I was curious, or, it kind of beats around the bush, but you got a somewhat yes out of it because they can't get around that. They pressed 1 or they called back in, so they're looking. So you identified with him that there's other hymns out there that are actually looking for another way to get some cash into the door for themselves or their family. So anyway, moving on with the conversation, I say, look, you had obviously pressed 1, but keep in mind, you're definitely not the only one out of those 6,000. I've invited a few people to the website. I've had a few people go this week, and generally this produces $3,000 to $6,000 a week for me cash. Or if you're new, you can say, here's how the system works. It's a numbers game. Usually you can call this many. You just get so many to the website. You just get so many in each week. And you can kind of leave it open-ended there. If you say that with confidence, without pausing in your voice, and without saying, and you can get 1 to 2 gifts in each week, you can't do that. You've got to be confident, bold, and have authority. Remember, drill that in there, okay? I know you've heard me say that. You're probably ready to pop me on the monitor, your computer monitor there, but that's the way it is. Story or testimonial is by far one of the most powerful ways to get around I just don't have the money, especially for the newbies and for the beginners that don't have that track record to flat out prove it to them. So let's move on into number 2. Oh, by the way, before I move off of this one, I want to tell you a little something. You may not be the type of person that likes to air the dirty laundry. That's not a good way to say that. Skeletons in the closet kind of thing. Keep one thing in mind, and I want you to chew on this when we get done with this video, or right now, but don't get off track here when I move to number 2. There is a message in everybody's mess. You know, the word message starts with the word mess. You may feel like you don't have a story, and we're going to be digging that story out of you, by the way, in Module 4 when we start creating some pretty cool stuff. But in your story, something I want you to take home with you today, there is a mess in everybody's little message, and it goes the other way around. Every time you give a message, it's quite, the most powerful stories actually have a little bit of a mess to the message. So I want you to think about that for a little bit. Sit back in your chair and think, I would never want to tell someone that I went through this. Well, maybe you don't, and maybe you don't have to tell all of it. But one of your most powerful closing deals with getting people to send you cash is telling them your story and how this opportunity is not only going to change your life, but it's possibly already has. And maybe it's not about the money, but you just tell Mr. Prospect that maybe this is part of your story. Mr. Prospect, I'm just now getting started. This is a numbers game. I've seen it work for my inviter. I've seen it work for everybody else. It's a beautiful system. But one of the things I've really fell in love with is, calling these people back and inviting them to the website. Man, I meet all kinds of people, kind of like you on the phone here. So whether you do this or you don't, I just wanted to let you know that I didn't have the money either. But I dug in, and boy, am I glad I did now. And here's how the system works. Remember, always change the subject just a little bit more. Grab their curiosity. That your style of prospecting always intrigues people, especially when you talk about numbers games and things like that. So think about that before we move on to number 2. You do have a story. You just need to dig it out. Okay? All right. Number 2, inquire what they mean. Sean, I saw the website and I just don't have the money. This approach is inquiring what they mean. This is a brutal little grab the shovel out and kind of dig what exactly they mean out. It's not my favorite to do because I'm not always real gutsy on the phone. I can be what I need to be, but in a kill 'em with kindness style. So if you're somewhat gutsy on the line and you don't mind saying this, go for it. I've seen it work for some pretty heavy hitters or very heavy hitters in our industry. Let's move on. Sean, I went to the website and I just really don't have enough money. I don't have any money. Well, whatever their comment is. Well, Mr. Prospect, I can definitely agree with that. Times have been very, very tough, so don't feel bad. Just about everybody's in the same boat. But going back to your comment, what do you mean you don't have the money? You just don't have the money right now, or this doesn't seem like a good opportunity to you, or I just want to make sure we're clear about everything on the line. And there's nothing wrong with this objection digger of number 2 here, the digger out of inquire of what they mean. Nothing wrong with it at all. You've just got to be somewhat gutsy and make sure people don't take it as offense. In other words, if someone called you and said, hey, I want you to buy this product. We don't have a product, but bear with me here. Hey, I want you to buy this product. And you come back and say, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And finally they get it out of you. You just really don't have the money right now to invest in this, whatever it is. And the salesman on the other line, because that's what it starts to feel like at this point when you use this objection here, they say, well, what do you mean you don't have enough money? And you could take offense to that. You're like, well, buddy, my checking account's down to under $100 and we haven't bought groceries this week, buddy. So you got to be real careful with this one. But I have seen the heavy hitters drill this one in and make it happen. So it's one of them. It's there for you to use. Not my favorite, but it's there and it does work. Number 3, start an interview. I know you're scratching your head right now thinking, huh? But I've used this one before, and I've got a little guy over in Florida that uses this one brilliantly. It works well for him. So start an interview. So let's start with that script real quick. So here's kind of what starting an interview sounds like. I know it sounds crazy, but bear with me here. Hi, Mr. Prospect. My name is Sean. I noticed that you just went over to the website. I received an email about 45 minutes ago. I just want to see, if there's any questions I can answer, anything like that. Whatever objection comes out first might end up being, well, I just don't have the money, Sean. And well, agree with them. Well, I completely understand. Times are tough here lately. I completely understand that. So no problem. Don't feel bad. I get a hold of a few people like that every single day. But before I let you go, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? What is it that you do now, if you don't mind me asking? This is the interview style. And the prospect says, oh, I'm a such and such down at the local such and such. That's my career. Oh, okay, well, that's really neat. And you kind of start a little bit of a conversation. Then you kind of come right back and say, I'm not real sure what your career, pays, but are you happy with that? Oh, well, da-da-da-da-da. And then you go on to the next question. You'll see this in the scripts. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they are effective in getting around and then bending the conversation back around, just like you've answered that objection that they don't have enough money. This one almost slaps a little bit of a guilt trip on them that, well, maybe they should come up with the money for the answers that they're having to give you, but in a nice way. So what do? And then it moves on into, where you're happy with that income. Does it take up a lot of your time? Again, I'm not going to go through all the questions because there's several of them, but and then you make them answer and realize themselves, oh gosh, I was looking, wasn't I? That's probably why I pressed 1. Yes, it probably was, but man, the prospecting here is killer. I mean, check this out, or check out the tax advantages. Again, be careful with that one, or this or this or this. It's a numbers game. There's so many different avenues you can take it in. Once you get this education from all these objection answering, you should be able to handle. After you get past this one, you should be able to glide past any of the others that you may have. So again, start an interview. Pretty darn powerful one. So that's another one that you can actually tactically use. And you know what? You could revolve these from week to week and see which one works best for you based on how hot of a prospect you ended up getting. Because, don't forget our process. They start with a cold lead, then they end up with a prospect, then they go to the website and you've got a hot prospect, and then when you begin to call them back, you can kind of, that last little bit is the one where all the money flows into you. Either you got a few or a very few or just one for the week that seems to keep hanging on. whatever it is. Some weeks you'll have 1, some weeks you'll have 10, sometimes even 12 or 15 people been to the website and they curiously are asking questions. You're like, this is great, they're very responsive. It comes and goes from week to week, but whatever it is, test this out. That's called split testing. So don't be afraid to go in and use those. And not only split testing works very well, but something I found out very fast is it makes you a better presenter. And where I'm going with that is you get really good on the phone. So you may split test for a month and a half, and you get up and you're cruising along, you got gifts coming in, and then all of a sudden you'll sit back and realize, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing something pretty cool. I'm speaking with someone and I'm kind of sensing their personality or their physique, if you will, on the line, and I'm picking which direction I go when they tell me they don't have enough money. That's pretty brilliant, and that's what will happen when you split test, okay? All right, let's move on into number 4. I can't give you advice here because the way I have closed out probably majority of my gifts last year was through number 4. Flat out proving it. Money talks and the other stuff walks. So I was able to prove it. Once you get up and get going, I can't give you advice here, but I can tell you that a sneak peek at your back office to prove what you've done sure never hurts anything. Now, that always comes with, I'm talking about in your gifting opportunity, you have a back office back there that shows your receiving lines and whatever your opportunity calls it coming and going. So you have to continually change the password on a daily basis. It's another chart that I actually have and I keep up with. I'm not going to post it on here because then I would approve of you giving out your back office once you get up and going. But it's pretty darn powerful once you get rolling. Number 4 will close out more gifts than you can possibly throw a stick at once you get up and get the ball rolling really good. And it's very easy to get the ball rolling with these 3 right here. But to call somebody up and to say, hey, Mr. Prospect, this is Sean. I invited you to the website a few minutes ago, a few hours ago, yesterday, whatever. I noticed you just went about an hour ago. Is there any questions I can answer, any concerns, anything like that? And they say, well, Sean, this or this or this, and I might overcome those. And I say, well, it really boils down to money. I mean, X amount of dollars, Sean, that's quite a bit of money, and I just don't really have that right now. Well, I completely understand, Mr. Prospect. Times are really tough, really tough, especially if you have a job somewhere. It's really hard to get over and beyond something, and I can completely understand. Might give a slight testimonial there, and then I'll pop off and say, you know what, if I could, let me tell you this. It looks like you're definitely interested in, and I may say compliments. You're really good on the phone. Your personality would do really good at this, or it looks like your work ethic with you putting in 80 hours a week right now at your job. I think you'd be able to kill this really quick because a lot of people just lazy out. I'll compliment them a little bit and then pay attention here. And then I'll pop off and say, you know what? I'm not worried about this working because I know it works. So how about this? I know money is an issue. And I don't want you taking it out of savings or doing anything that you're not comfortable with. But if I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I bring X amount of dollars in each week, would that be something you'd be interested in seeing? Everybody says yes. Now, this person may be broke as a joke, have nothing in savings, nothing in oh gosh, I've had people pull out of IRAs, pull from homes, remortgage car, everything. I've had everything brought to me, and that's been great. There have been a handful of them that just lazied out on me and would not run their dialer. I almost couldn't force them to get out and work. And you still do feel bad for those people, even though they chose their own, shoot in the foot there. So with that said, everybody agrees to that. And that is a killer closing tool. Once you get to that point and it's about the money, and you can prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt, there have been countless times that I have taken my bank statement, and I always make sure I deposit in, even though we keep a lot of cash back out. That's another outgoing thing there, but that's on a different page of the bank statement too. I will take that, or I've even taken my my gifting, I've got a coupon stuck to the head, excuse me, my forms, my sign-off forms, my non-solicitation forms and stuff like that, and I've actually crossed those out and left the numbers on there from people that I brought in that don't mind giving me a reference, and actually sent them over for references. But the most powerful thing is showing the back office at the opportunity or sending over a bank statement via fax. Now, yes, you take and mark all your account numbers out. Make sure you are safe there, 100% safe. I am not telling you to do this method, okay? I don't want to get in trouble for this. I don't want someone to pop up one day and say, well, Sean told me to send my bank statement off. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you that was an option of mine, and I used it, and just FYI, that's what I did. And for showing the back office, you got to be careful, because your back office a lot of times contains people's phone numbers and email addresses, and someone might just go in there and copy those out. So just use caution when you do things like that. But it closes, I'm going to say 75%. How would you like to have 10 really serious people every month go to your website and you're closing 7 of them? That's exactly how I was doing it. After you get the ball rolling, it's just bang, bang, bang. Then you get people, people don't get excited because they have been burned before by opportunities. So when they say, I just don't have the money, yes, a lot of times they can get the money, they do have access to money. It might be sitting tenfold in their checking account. They might be able to sign up 20 times with you, but because they've been burned by stuff before, I don't have the money is generally their thought, the easiest way to just shut you down. They're scared. They don't know what to do. So sending over some hardcore proof, all of a sudden a lot of that fear goes away. So once you get there, this is one of your options. Now, you may already be there, and you may be thinking, look, I've been thinking about doing that, and I'm not telling you to do it, but I will tell you that it drastically increases your rate. So number 10, I just don't have the money. Let's recap real quick. Story or a testimonial. Don't forget, start writing on the paper now. There is a message in each one of your messes that you've been through in life. It may not have anything to do with money. It may have something not to do with money, but intertied back with finances somehow, or how it changed your life. It doesn't even have to be this opportunity that got you in with that. You're doing this because of you need the time. You're doing this because you need to get those kids off to college. You're doing this to put braces on one of them. You're doing whatever. The reason is, if you've got a story that's compelling and you've got a goal, a dreams and aspirations that you want to reach, put it in with your story, guys. It doesn't have to have happened yet. You may want to be building a $1 million home out on the ocean somewhere. I guess that'd be a pretty low number. You want to build a $2 million home out on the ocean somewhere, and you've been through all these hard times, and finally the light came on, and you're going to attack it in this opportunity. And here's facts of why. This opportunity has this set up. I have these advantages in this opportunity. I have these advantages in this opportunity. There is no other opportunity like this. That's your story. Okay? Put the fine details of your life in there, and all of a sudden, storytelling cuts through the fog when you're communicating with someone. So number 1 is story or a testimonial that you may have. That's a life testimonial. Number 2, inquire what they mean. This is just flat out taking a shovel and digging it out of them, nothing more. Start an interview. This is a great way to start another conversation. Don't ever seem like a salesman if you can at all help it. Just kind of be kill them with kindness, and be super friendly and say, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what are you doing right now? And people love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about themselves. So let's say, oh, they're so glad you asked. Well, I'm the clerk down at the such and such and such and such. And you compliment that. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, all right. Well, I've got an aunt that does that. Or, hey, I was just in one of those buildings the other day, and speaking with a clerk, kind of like your job in my city. Yeah, that's really neat. Well, tell me, does that give you very much time? Or are you satisfied with the money on that? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you every single time, because they love talking about themselves. So don't be afraid to start an interview up. Interviews work great. But, just go through those questionnaires and stop when you feel like you need to. Don't say too many of them. The questionnaire that's on that script is a little bit overkill because it allows you, like all the other scripts we've done in this series, to cross out and plug one in that you like just a little bit better. So just don't forget to use your skills that you've learned on the other 9 objections of how you bend things around, not the truth, how you bend things around from what you're currently talking about, and you kind of nonchalantly put the words in their mouth that's kind of answered and solved. Well, really, you could get internet, or you could do this, whatever the other objection is, but did you know, and you start off another bright, cheerful conversation. All of a sudden, you've trash canned that other one between the two of you. So off it goes. Okay, start an interview, and then of course, I'm not going to condone this. Flat out, prove it. Closes 75% of the people that go to the website and say they don't have the money. That's it. That's exactly how you get to be heavy hitter in this industry. But it comes from the beginnings, and the beginnings of overcoming all these objections. Staying organized is a huge one, like I taught you in Module 1. Running your daily working is kind of what that boils down to. Your days 1, 2, and 3, how to tackle them, and just flat out killing them with kindness and being a people person, not a salesman, every single time. All right, let's move on into the next portion, and we will start with it. This has been number 10. I just don't have the money. Thanks.